For an entire week, Texas Longhorn fans were resigned to the fact that Ryan Wingo was headed to Mizzou. The five-star wide receiver from St. Louis, Missouri was staying home. All you can do, you just got to tip your cap and keep recruiting. But that's not what happened. Even the great Gerry Hamilton had a recruiting prediction machine pick in for the Tigers. But this is one case where Texas fans are happy that Gerry Hamilton was wrong. In this video, we're going to go behind the scenes to find out how Texas was able to flip the momentum last minute of this recruitment and land the elite wide receiver target. Also, can the Horns take advantage of a few struggling programs and flip their top commitments? We're going to find out in this video. Texas fans, hit that subscribe button. We need you to be a part of this. We want you to be a part of this. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Thank you. All right, let's bring on Gerry Hamilton from inside Texas. And Gerry, Texas fans have never been so happy to see you wrong. What a roller coaster ride. How did Texas pull this one off?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's a really different type of recruitment for me, Josh. I mean, you know, when Ryan and his family went to the Texas-Wyoming game that September 17th, I thought it was all but done for Texas after that. I'd heard there was a silent commitment and this thing was headed Texas direction. Then a few weeks shortly after, it starts trending away. And to the point I had a pick in for Texas. I switched to the Missouri. I mean, and it takes a lot for me to do that. So it was trending to Missouri. I mean, all the picks were going to Missouri in our industry. I think Ryan, the interesting thing about Ryan, guys, is, you know, when this recruitment started, and I always talked about Texas with him, he liked Austin. He said the same things about Texas Arch Manning did. It's a big city. There's a lot of opportunity there. It's a good chance to have a life away from football in a big football environment. And I think when Ryan started this recruiting process, he had big eyes as far as football environments go. That's why I visited Michigan, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, Notre Dame. I mean, he visited some of the biggest environments in college football, and you knew that's where his eyes were headed early in this process. But then Missouri has a good season. The receivers, Luther Burden is probably the best player in college football, not talked about enough. The quarterback could be back next year, and Missouri gained a lot of momentum with that. And I think at the end of the day, I think Texas came through in a big way. I mean, I think that relationship with Sarkisian was key. I think a relationship with Arch Manning, the quarterback room at Texas in the future. And, of course, if Texas wasn't going to the SEC, this wouldn't be possible.
Tailgate season is here, and Inside Scoop fans, I need to tell you about these Bird Dog shorts that I've been wearing. Bird Dogs, they were the big winner for me this summer, and I'm rolling right into the fall with them as well. I wear them to work. I wear them golfing. You guys know I brought them on vacation with me to Florida, so they are definitely my first pick for tailgating. Last weekend, I didn't pull up to Lot B with the boys in my old stiff khakis. Nope. I had my Bird Dogs on instead, and I'm glad I did because it's still hot out there. I know it just became October and it should be fall, but it is swampy out there. Not in my Bird Dogs, because Bird Dogs have a great cloud knit fabric that looks just like a nice pair of khakis, but way more flexible and way more comfortable. And most importantly, it keeps you cool and dry even for a noon kickoff. So here's what we're going to do. Go to birddogs.com/Josh or enter promo code Josh for a Bird Dog Tech hat with your order. Yeah, one of these. Fashionable, it fits, it's great. I love to wear it golfing. Anyway, you get one of those free with your order if you type in birddogs.com/Josh or promo code Josh for a Bird Dog Tech hat. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Xavier Sammy, the number 2 ranked safety in the country. You were out to see him face to face this week. You spoke with him. He is committed to UF, but Texas just entered the picture about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, Gerry, what do you think? Does he make it to campus before signing day? And what's your read here on his recruitment?
Yeah, I think he will make it to campus before signing day. Texas is trying to get him in this weekend for the BYU game. He says his father has something going on with work that could keep him from going down there, because I think it's a trip he wants to make with his father. Obviously, his mother lives in Orlando. His father lives in McKinney. My take on it is Florida, it remains in a really good spot. Florida's got good momentum in this recruiting class with the LJ McCray commitment. Xavier's tight with a lot of those guys. But look, he hasn't totally shut the door on the recruiting process. He's scheduled to be at USC November 4th. Oregon's trying to get him up in November. Texas safeties coach Blake Gideon will be at his game November 3rd. I definitely think right now he steps foot on campus in Austin before the December signing period because he's an early graduate, so he's got to come to a final decision here pretty quick. I think Florida's in a great spot for him, but he's definitely listening to Texas. He's had multiple conversations with Blake Gideon since he was offered the day he went to the Cotton Bowl, the Texas OU game, as a guest of Texas. He has interest in Texas. I think the ability to play early at a Texas or Florida is meaningful in his recruitment. But it's going to be interesting to see if he makes those West Coast trips. I mean, that chips away at Florida a little bit more. But I think at the end of the day, this kid's going to play his college football in the state of Florida or the state of Texas. So it's up to Texas to flip him because he's pretty solid to Florida, but I do think he'll set foot on campus.
Okay, well, that visit to Texas will be key because without it, they have no shot. With it, hey, they have a puncher's chance, as Jerry likes to say. All right, two massively important visitors that will be on campus this weekend. We're talking about 2025 QB commitment KJ Lacey, and he is going to bring his teammate, five-star wide receiver Ryan Williams, with him. How much of a priority is Williams to the Texas staff, especially with the rumors that he could be reclassifying to 2024?
I think he's a huge target for Texas. I really do. I mean, he's a guy he's just different, Josh. I mean, I've seen him twice now. Mm-hmm. He is so electric with the ball in his hands. There just aren't many guys like him in this country playing high school football.
Yeah.
The interesting thing with Ryan is it's such an interesting recruitment because his dad played at Auburn, obviously. I met his dad when he was a freshman. I was at the regional track meet at South Alabama. And I ran into his dad, and he said, "Have you seen my son?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "He's a freshman," and he said he's going to run 10.7. And I was like, "Wow, okay." And then he did, and I was like, "Okay, this is crazy. This kid's really talented." But he's committed to Alabama. He's got intense pressure to stay in the home state. But he's been to Auburn twice this year. He's been to Georgia as well.
Yeah.
And it was always a possibility that when KJ Lacey made his in-season unofficial visit to Texas, which is this weekend for the BYU game, Ryan Williams may make that trip with him. We'll see if he actually makes that trip with him. We think he is, but until he gets on that plane, you have to still keep it as a maybe. But KJ Lacey, I don't think this will be the only Texas game he comes to or his only visit before December. I'll say that. But Ryan Williams is a big, big target for Texas.
Yeah, and it's good to see that he is a priority. And the reason I asked is because if he does reclassify, I mean, we're talking about less than 2 months until the 2024 signing day. So he becomes his recruitment comes at you real fast if he reclassifies. All right, let's talk about some struggling programs. Clemson, they are one of them. So, Jerry, I got to ask you, is Texas making a second run at four-star DB Corian Gibson from Lancaster High School?
It's interesting you asked that. I was at Lancaster High School Monday afternoon for practice. By the way, I have a 2025 receiver, Emmanuel Choice. We will be talking about on this show in the future.
Name to know.
But, man, name to know. Corian Gibson, I think he's locked in with Clemson. The
Wow.
information I got on that visit Monday was that he's still committed for all the same reasons. Nothing's changed. So while Clemson is struggling a bit on the field, or a lot, depending on what Clemson fans think, Corian Gibson appears to be locked in for the reasons he committed in the first place. Nothing's changed. And he had a season-ending knee injury. And the loyalty is big with him.
Yeah.
He's a loyal guy, and Dabo and that staff have been loyal to him. They've never wavered after his season-ending knee injury. Some of the other schools, not Texas, but some of the other schools that were still trying to recruit him backed off after that knee injury. Clemson has never wavered on him. Texas is going to keep trying to make a run, but as of right now, I would say no, not a good shot for Texas. I think he sticks with Clemson.
All right. Well, there's still more games to get played in Texas. They are very aggressive on the recruiting trail, especially down the stretch. What about a guy like five-star defensive lineman Dominic McKinley, position in need? Texas A&M is struggling. They're a program that's taken on water, and I don't know if they got enough buckets to bail it all out. Imagine him lined up on the inside next to Colin Simmons. Jerry, can Texas fans dream?
Oh, you can always dream. I would say this. Steve Sarkisian, Bo Davis have been lightly in communication with Dominic McKinley since he committed. I think the ball is more in the McKinley court here if this thing was to get serious. But I think how A&M plays down the stretch. I mean, how much goes on with that recruiting class? You saw Draylon Miller decommit, now leading the LSU over USC. There's some questions about Weston Davis, the offensive tackle, committed to A&M. So far, he stayed committed. Ty Anthony Smith, the linebacker from Jasper, so far he stayed committed. He was scheduled to visit Texas officially September 30th. Ty Anthony Smith didn't make the trip, so he's staying in contact with Texas. So it's going to be interesting to see if that class starts to kind of unravel. I would expect that Dominic McKinley gets a little more serious about re-engaging with some staffs.
Well, we're seeing the cracks already with, like you said, Draylon Miller, a top 100 wide receiver, reopened his recruitment just recently. So we'll keep an eye on that because I'm sure Texas fans would love to see a 5-star interior defensive lineman like Dominic McKinley added to their commit list at the very end. We'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. We'll have you back on soon, Jerry. Thank you today, though, for stopping by the Inside Scoop. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.